What's up, guys? It's been a long time coming. I've been promising to make this video, but it's finally here. It's time for my captain video. Stick around. It was always a dream of mine to be a professional captain, but I didn't know much about how to actually become a licensed captain. To me, it always seemed it was very difficult. You needed many, many years of experience of being on ships and all of that. And that's sort of partially true, but not entirely. It's really not as difficult as you might think. I've been boating for about 30 years and retired a few years ago, or 2 years ago now, and moved down to Florida. Took our boat down from New York along the Intracoastal Waterway and settled in our new hometown of Cape Coral, Florida. I was very fortunate that right here in Cape Coral, there's an actual captain school, classroom type environment where you could go in and have instructors that show you the ropes and teach you what you need to know to actually get your U.S. Coast Guard captain license, otherwise called as a Merchant Mariner Certificate. To me, having my captain's license, not only was it a lifelong goal, but I also wanted to make it part of a retirement gig where I could make some money on the side. I didn't need to make a whole lot of money, but something I enjoy doing, and if I could get paid a little bit with it, that would be great. I love being on the water. I love showing people the water and taking them out and seeing them have a really good time. So I really was interested in doing work like that as a charter boat captain. So there's a number of different ways that you could get licensed as a captain. You can do online courses. You can just read books and just teach yourself on all the different aspects of being a captain, all the different regulations, learning chart plotting, navigation, rules of the road, Coast Guard regulations, and hundreds of other items that you need to know to actually be a paid professional merchant mariner. For some people, being self-taught like that may work. Honestly, I think the best way to go about it is to find a captain school that's closest to you and actually attend that class. I think that's the easiest. When you're in front of an instructor, you get to ask questions, they get to explain the different topics. One of the most difficult part of the captain's course is the chart plotting. And if you have questions with that, if you're doing something wrong, the instructor could come right up and show you, because you're plotting with dividers and compasses and using charts, actual charts, to plot a course, taking into effect wind speed and current and drift and all of that. So it's nice to have somebody that's there in the room with you that could explain to it, because I saw in the classes, I've seen a lot of people struggle with that, and that really helps out. There are online courses you could also take. I would say if you're not going to take the in-person course, yeah, you could probably take online captain courses. They might be a little bit easier than just buying a book and trying to teach yourself. But every person is different, so it's up to you. But my personal opinion, spend the extra dollars to go to an in-person course. What's also good about that is you get to meet people. Hopefully it's local to your area, but you get to make contacts, and that's really going to help when we get a little further into this discussion and tell you how you could actually make something about and do something with your Merchant Mariner Certificate. So you decide to take a captain course. As I said, I went to the local captain school here in Cape Coral, Florida. They did a great job providing me with all the material I needed. Included in the course fees, you get books, you get pamphlets, you get everything you need to pass the Coast Guard test. Six-pack captain's license is officially called Operator of Uninspected Passenger Vessel, or OUPV. The OUPV course is the entry level. That to me is the most difficult as far as the initial testing and trainings you could take to get your captain's license. Passing that course, getting your certificate, that's only the first step. After you pass the official Coast Guard test, which was given right in the captain school I went to. They are official test administrators. They could give the test right there in the classroom. So that's also very convenient too. I don't have to go to a Coast Guard station to take the test. So I did it right in the classroom. They graded it right there and they told me if I passed or not right away. But that's just one of the first steps. You also need to get a physical from a doctor, make sure you're healthy enough to operate a vessel. You need to take a first aid and CPR class, which was also done at the captain school, and a background check. The TWIC card is a transportation worker ID card, very similar to what any other federal transportation worker needs in airports, I'm guessing railroads and trains and things like that. I went to Fort Myers Airport, TSA office, and I was able to apply for the TWIC card there. And in a few weeks, I actually got my TWIC card. You'll also need to go, once you apply for your license, you need to have a drug test. You need to take a drug test. You need to be randomly drug tested once you have your license and you're actually working on a boat for somebody, or even if you're working for yourself. So just to give a quick overview on what the costs were for my OUPV class, the class itself cost $650. That's for the in-person training. If you don't have plotting tools for the charting and navigation portion of the test, you'll need to purchase that. That was about $40. The testing fee with the U.S. Coast Guard was $95. The physical with a doctor cost $80. First aid course was $70. The drug test course cost $70. To obtain the TWIC card, that was $125. And then I also paid extra to the office of the captain's school for a paperwork review, where they review my application and all my paperwork to make sure everything is correct and I shouldn't have any issues when I submit the paperwork. They actually submitted the paperwork for me online digitally, so I didn't have to mail it in, so that sped up the process a little bit. So taking the OUPV test, the U.S. Coast Guard test for the operator of uninspected passenger vessel, there's several topics that you'll need to pass. It's all multiple choice, even the chart plotting, even though you need to use a chart, paper chart, and your plotting tools. It is all multiple choice. But you have 50 questions on rules of the road. That's rules basically on the water. You'll need to pass with 90%. That's missing 5 out of the 50 questions. There'll also be 10 questions on the chart plotting. You could only miss one of those. You need to get 90%. So that's why it's so difficult, that chart plotting. You can't have more than one wrong on that. Another section is navigation general. That's 50 questions. You only need 70% for that. That means you can miss 15. And then deck general and safety, which is also 50 questions, and you need to get 70% on that. So that's also missing 50. So it's quite a long test, 160 questions. It takes at least a couple hours to finish the test. And there's some portions of it that are open book that you're able to refer to the U.S. Coast Guard Codes of Federal Regulations. You're not expected to know every single aspect of everything that is to be known as far as being a merchant mariner out on the high seas or whatever it may be. No one's expected to know the Code of Federal Regulations, every single sentence of it. But they teach you how to look up information. They teach you where to go in the Code of Federal Regulations to find out if you have a question about a regulation on a boat. And it's not just how to drive a boat, it's also the equipment on the boat. What should you have? How many life preservers? How many fire extinguishers? What type of systems do you need? What type of placards or signs do you need on the boat to satisfy the regulations? So you need to know where to find all that information. So there's tides tables, there's light lists that you could look up, you refer to during the test. So all that information, they explain that to you when you go on the course and what all this means. So it's a lot of paperwork, and so it is a combination of memorization and open book tests and knowing where to look for it. So the OUPV license, that allows you to operate vessels for hire up to 100 gross tons. There's some stipulations with that. You must be 18 years old. You need to have at least 360 days on the water to actually get that merchant mariner certificate. Those hours or those days could be documented. If you owned a boat, you need to just provide proof that you owned a boat, and then how many days. It's self-certifying the days that you're on the boat. So it's the honor system basically, but it needs to make sense. The Coast Guard's going to review it. So if you own a boat for a year, it's not realistic that you could get 360 days on the water experience out of a year. So I've been boating for 30 years, and I was easily able to get the days, the sea service time to submit on the sea service forms to get the hours I needed for my license. Depending on where you boat, if you do a lot of boating offshore, you can get certified for a near coastal license, which allows you to go offshore with the boat using your license. If you don't have, you need 90 days offshore for that. If you don't have 90 days, they will give you an inland license where you're not permitted to go past the demarcation line out into open waters, say into the ocean. So there's different levels of endorsement on your license. The next step up from the OUPV license is the master license. Now, the master license will allow you to operate small passenger vessels. Now, these are typically vessels that carry more than 6 paying passengers, and these are Coast Guard inspected vessels. These are the larger, usually larger commercial vessels that you will see, like the larger tour boats or the larger fishing charters that you may see out there, or ferry boats, things of that nature. These are official commercial boats that are specifically built for their purpose, and they are inspected by the Coast Guard. They need to have a certificate and a bunch more regulations, which you learn in the master's course for the Merchant Mariner certificate. Now, if you plan to just charter small recreational vessels, your own boat, do you really need a master's license? No. But if you're going to get a job where you may take out boats with more than 6 paying passengers, ferry boats, like I said, then you're going to need the master upgrade from your OUPV. Now, it's not that difficult. It's actually much easier to get the master upgrade than it was to get the OUPV, because you get into all the nuts and bolts in the OUPV, and then the master is just a little more specific to the small passenger vessel rules and what you need to know for that. So the test is a lot easier, it goes a lot quicker, and you shouldn't stress it out. There's different levels of certification endorsements that you get for a master. It starts, the smallest level is a master 25 ton, and then it goes master 50 ton, and then master 100 ton, which is the largest that you could get for that level. There are larger master licenses. You can get 200 ton oil. We're not going to get into that. That's strictly large commercial type vessels, but I'm not into that yet, so we're just going to talk about the master up to 100 ton. So now, to get your master's license, you need to have 720 days on water experience, lifetime on water experience, to get your near coastal license. If you have less than that, then you could get an inland master license. Now, depending on what size master license endorsement you get, the 25, 50, or 100 ton, that is determined by the size of the boat, the vessels that you have been operating. So if your entire life you only operated, say, a 20-foot runabout and or center console, you'll only get certified as a 25 ton. That's the minimum entry level. Once you get that initial entry level master, it's rather easy to move up from there, which it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But any on-water experience that you document, once you are holding a Merchant Mariner certificate, you could qualify for upgrades for larger vessel endorsements, the 50 ton and 100 ton. So it's every 90 days, I believe it is, after once you're holding your Merchant Mariner certificate. So if you have a master 25-ton, because you only had a 20-foot vessel or whatever it is, and you get 90 days on the water with that 20-foot boat again, you document it on your sea service forms, you send that up for an upgrade on your master license, and they will upgrade you from a 25-ton to a 50-ton, even though you may not have ever driven a boat that size. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like I said, it's the knowledge up here. It doesn't mean you know how to drive a boat. So with the sea service forms, you can go back to the age of 16 as far as the vessels that you had operated. You can have owners of other vessels sign off on your sea service forms if you were actually on somebody else's boat. They just need to provide proof of ownership. We talked about the drug test, the random drug testing. You need to be signed up in a drug consortium, which is a program where they have your name and information, and you will be randomly picked for a drug test. Very similar to truck drivers on the road with CDL licenses. Same thing with the Merchant Mariner. I also obtained my Marine Radio Operator's Permit. There's no course for that, but it's multiple choice and just reading the questions and understanding the answers. And then you take an not online test. You take an in-person test, and if you pass it, the FCC grants you this Marine Radio Operator's Permit, which is needed for any vessels that carry more than 6 paying passengers. And a small passenger vessel, if you're the master of that vessel, you need to have that Marine Radio Operator Permit. So I went through the steps for that. That didn't cost too much. It was maybe, I don't know, $50 for the test fees and for the paperwork to go in. The master class, the coursework, that cost me about $250 for the in-person classroom instruction. And in addition to the masters, what I also did, I took the assistance towing training, which is an endorsement you could get if you're going to be an assist tow boat, like say Towboat US or Sea Tow. If you want to work on one of those boats, you need this assist tow endorsement on your Merchant Mariner certificate in order to operate towboats. They just go over the basics, the rules, regulations, loading of gear and tow equipment and different techniques. There's no on-water training with this. Most of that you're going to get when you're actually out on the towboats working with experienced captains who are doing the towing, and you pick up a lot of experience from that. I learned a lot by going out on the boats with the towboat captains when I did a couple of the videos a while back, and you'd be surprised. It's really interesting work. It's very rewarding work, and it could be very difficult work. You're out there in all types of weather. You're alone many times. You're out there alone. You're the sole person on the boat that needs to either tow the boat back in. Sometimes people are in distress. Boats could be sinking, and it's a stressful job, but it's a very rewarding job. So something I wouldn't mind doing in the future, but I don't know if that's in the cards. So you need your assist tow endorsement also training for that. So you have your captain's license now. What are you going to do with it? So there's a number of different routes you could go as far as making money or trying to make money, because it's not easy to get your foot in the door. In this type of business, it's not what you know, but who you know. You need to get the street cred out there before people are going to start hiring you for the more higher paying jobs. There's a lot of money in delivery and transport of vessels. Captains generally get about $500 per day for delivery and transport. That's pretty much the going rate for a captain. And a lot of the seasoned guys that you'll hear on the internet say, "Oh yeah, don't take more than 500 a day. That's it. That's the going rate for a captain." Yeah, that may be the going rate for a captain who's experienced, who's been driving around large vessels and maybe 100-ton mega yachts. But the regular Joe is not getting 500 a day to go drive a boat around. Okay, if you look around at, you go on the job posting websites. I see them all the time. I go on Indeed and look up maritime jobs, boating, captain, tour boats, whatever it may be, and look at what they're paying. They're paying about $20 to $30 an hour. Some may go up a little bit higher, 35, but that's pretty much the hourly rate you're getting. Those aren't usually all-day jobs. It's like a 4-hour stint for a tour, and then you're back at the dock. So you're getting paid for those hours that you're working. So can you make $200, $250 a day? Hopefully you get some tips on a tour boat or a fishing charter, but you're not making a fortune unless you're on a large boat where it's regular work and it's consistent work. So like I said, this is a great job for me as a retiree, and it's something I enjoy doing, and if I can make some money, that's great. So before you get your foot in the door with any larger company and larger vessel, you can charter out your own vessel. It's been a lot easier lately over the past few years with the boat booking services like Boatsetter or AnchorRides. You could put your vessel on those booking websites, and people that are looking to rent a boat or charter a boat, they put in the area they're looking to get a boat in, and a list of boats come up, and you could put your boat on that website. That's where I got a good portion of my work, where I really, it's very rewarding work. It's enjoyable. People are going out on a boat recreationally. They're having a good time, and you're helping them enjoy it and showing them around the local waters that you know, where they might be here on vacation or visiting for a short time. So I really enjoy that, and some weeks it gets really busy. If you get a busy vacation week, depending on where you live, I'm in Cape Coral, Florida. It's a touristy area, so the in season it's a busy time, and a lot of the boats are going out, whether they're charter boats, rental boats, fishing charters, tour boats, dolphin tours. There's a lot of money to be made there, bringing people out on the water. So you could do that with your boat. You need to make sure that you follow all the rules. You can't take more than 6 passengers unless you're an inspected vessel, which 99% of you're not going to have a Coast Guard inspected vessel. It's generally going to be your recreational vessel that you're taking people out on, maybe even a small center console to go fishing. So you could do charters like that and make pretty penny on the side. Once you start getting your name out there, making contacts, talking to people at marinas, like I got some part-time jobs in the rental boat place down here. That gave me a lot of contacts too. Your name gets out there. People start asking, hey, oh, well, they find out you're a captain. Hey, we need a captain for this boat. So getting those contacts is very good too. When you could go out and charter other vessels, someone else's boat. I really enjoy that too, because then I don't have to worry about you're doing all the extra maintenance, taking my boat out. So going out on someone else's boat is also an option. You could put your name and your credentials on some of these booking sites like Boatsetter and AnchorRides and be listed as an approved captain. So when somebody wants to rent a boat on Boatsetter or AnchorRides, just to list 2 of the many boat booking businesses out there, and they look for a captain, you sign up as, okay, I'd like to captain this vessel or that one. So somebody rents it, they want a captain, you get notified. And you're not the only one. There's probably a list of captains for that vessel. And the charterer gets to choose, all right, who's one of these approved captains. So getting your name out there helps with getting work like that. And the more jobs you get, the more people you talk to down at the docks, down at the boats, people who come down on vacation and rent it. They talk to other people, say, hey, I met this great captain. He's got to take you out. You got to rent the boat and hire this captain. And you get a lot of work that way. So it takes time. It's slow. Don't expect to make a living off this. Make sure you have a backup plan. I'm not a fisherman, but you can do fishing tours. The regulations with fishing get a little more in depth because now you start getting into fishing licenses. And generally when you have people come on a boat, they're from out of town, they want to go on a fishing tour. They don't typically have their own fishing license. You need to get a separate fishing license when you have a charter fishing boat. Depending on the size of the boat, how many people you're taking, it varies the cost. I think it's up to $600 or so for a small vessel here in Florida, and every area is different. But that would cover the fishing licenses for anybody who's on your vessel. So that's it in hopefully the smallest nutshell I could put it in. There's a lot of information there, and the sky's the limit with your merchant mariner certificate. I hope you found the video informative. If you got any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments section below, and I will definitely answer any questions you have. So thanks for sticking around. We got a lot more journeys ahead of us, and safe travels to all of you out there. See you next time.